All right, if you're a beekeeper, you know all about the visible pests, right? Like the varroa mite. But what about the threats you can't see? Today, we are diving deep into the microscopic and kind of scary world of honeybee viruses. These are the invisible enemies that can absolutely devastate your colony from the inside out. So, here's our game plan. We're going to start with the basics. What are these viruses really? Then we'll get into the specifics, the ones that target the brood and the ones that go after the adult bees. Then, and this is crucial, we're going to talk about the varroa mite's role in all of this. And we'll wrap up with what you can actually do to protect your hives. Okay, first things first. When we say bee virus, what are we even talking about? It's not just some little germ. Think of it more like a tiny biological hijacker. So, a virus is this incredibly small particle that can't do anything on its own. It's totally inert. It needs a living host. What it does is it gets inside a bee's cells and then it hijacks the cell's own machinery to make thousands and thousands of copies of itself. Eventually, it just overwhelms the bee. And there are a ton of these viruses out there, many of which, honestly, scientists are still trying to fully understand. Now let's look at where these viruses can do some of the most damage. Some of the worst ones specifically go after the most vulnerable members of the hive, the developing larvae, the brood. This is a direct attack on the colony's entire future. One of the most common ones you'll hear about is sac-brood virus, and its name, well, it gives you a pretty grim clue about what it does to an infected larva. So when a larva gets infected, its body swells up into this little fluid-filled sac, which is just as fragile as it sounds. After the larva dies, it dries out and becomes this dark, brittle, scale-like thing at the bottom of the cell. For you, the beekeeper, the big sign is a spotty brood pattern. You'll see these irregular, sunken holes in the capped cells. It's a clear sign something is very wrong. Okay, next up is a virus with a really specific and really dangerous target, the black queen cell virus. This one goes straight for the jugular of the colony's future, its next queen. The key thing here is that this virus kills queen larvae while they're still developing. The telltale sign is exactly what it sounds like. The developing queen turns a dark, blackish color right inside her cell. Sometimes the walls of the queen cell itself will get dark too. I mean, losing a queen before she even emerges, that is a massive, massive blow to a colony's ability to survive. So we've seen the threat to the next generation. But what about the bees that are doing all the work right now? Let's switch gears and look at the viruses that cripple the adult population, the foragers, the nurses, the very engine of the hive. You know, maybe the most infamous and definitely the most visually shocking is deformed wing virus, or DWV. If you've ever seen this in one of your hives, you will not forget it. The effect is just devastating. Bees emerge from their cells with these crumpled, shrunken, totally useless wings. They're weak, they don't live very long, and of course, they can't fly. And pay close attention to that last point. You almost always find this virus where you find a really heavy varroa mite problem. Remember that, we are definitely coming back to it. Just think about that for a second. For a honeybee, a forager whose entire job is to fly out and bring back resources, losing the ability to fly is a death sentence. Not just for that one bee, but for the entire colony that depends on her. It's just awful. All right, another really serious threat to adult bees is chronic bee paralysis virus. This one is particularly scary because of how incredibly fast it can rip through an entire hive. The symptoms of this one are really unique. The bees will start to tremble or shiver, almost like they've been poisoned. They lose the hair on their bodies, which gives them this strange, black, almost greasy look. And just like with DDV, they can't fly. You'll just see them crawling around erratically on the ground. This virus is no joke. It can wipe out a colony in a shockingly short amount of time. Okay, so we've mentioned mites a few times now, right? It's time to connect the dots. Because if these viruses are the weapon, the varroa mite is the one pulling the trigger. This is the real villain of the story. This is it. This is the single most important thing for any beekeeper to understand. You cannot, I repeat, cannot manage viruses if you do not manage varroa mites. They aren't just a pest that sucks a little life out of your bees. They are a walking, crawling, mobile disease delivery system. So how does it actually work? Well, it's a vicious 1-2-3 punch. First, the mite latches on and starts feeding, which weakens the bee's immune system right away. But then comes the real damage. As it feeds, it basically acts like a dirty hypodermic needle. injecting a cocktail of viruses directly into the bee's circulatory system, completely bypassing all of its natural defenses. So yeah, a high Varroa count in your hive is like a ticking time bomb for a viral outbreak. The mites don't just spread the viruses from bee to bee, they actively amplify them, turning what might have been a low-level, manageable infection into a full-blown colony-killing epidemic. Okay, I know that was a lot of doom and gloom, but don't despair, because you are not powerless here. Let's pivot from the problem to the solution. We're going to lay out a clear, strategic plan to defend your hives. The first thing you have to accept is this: there is no cure. You can't just spray some medicine in the hive and make the viruses disappear. It doesn't exist. Protection is all about being proactive. It's about smart management and just really good hive hygiene. Here is your 5-point action plan. Number 1, and I'm going to sound like a broken record, but it's that important: control Varroa mites. It's the foundation for everything else. 2, think about requeening with fresh, healthy, hygienic genetics. 3, if you see frames that are just riddled with diseased brood, get them out of there. 4, keep your colonies strong. A big, populous, well-fed hive is way better at fighting off disease. And 5, this is just beekeeping 101. Never, ever move frames from a hive you think might be sick to a healthy one. Don't spread the problem yourself. We've covered a lot of ground today, from the tiniest signs in a single larva to the big picture strategies for your entire apiary. So I'll just leave you with this question to mull over the next time you've got your hive tool in your hand. Now that you know what to look for, are your bees really safe from this unseen enemy?